Okay, so this is something a little bit different. I this game this game has been out for over 15 years now, and I have been a player for about 14 of them. And although I haven't honestly played this game all that much, certainly nowhere near as much as its nautical counterpart. And mm, I mean, I like it, but there are some things I don't like. There are some things that kind of get on my nerves, which has limited my which has limited me actually playing it. The last time that I've seriously played this game, or last time that I remember that I've seriously played this game was like 2017. And I have played it a few times earlier this year. And I seem to have some missions active which think that I've played the game several times at least recently. I have no idea, honestly. So this should be interesting. And I figured I could play this maybe to just as something different. This is probably going to be a Saturday video to go with the other miscellaneous, for lack of a better word, stuff that comes out on Saturdays. So, but if I'm going to be entirely honest, I haven't played this one too much. Like in the grand scheme of things, I haven't played this one too much, as I said. Again, compared to World of Warships, I've barely played this at all. World of Warships, I have played quite a bit. Thank you. Like, I don't know what these are talking about at all. So, here's an example, okay, of how much I've played this game. I have 5 tier 10s. 3 of them are tech tree tier 10s. The T110E4, the Raconerate, the Rhino. At least I assume that's rhinoceros in Italian, and the Type 5. The only reason why I have the rhinoceros and the T110E4 is because of the basically the free tech tree lines that they gave out. One for update 2.0, and then one for the New Year's event. So I got the T110E4 when update 2.0 came out, and then I got the Rhino for the Christmas event. I think I said New Year's, but I find it so funny. They're celebrating New Year's, quote unquote. Like, what part of this or the giant sodden Christmas tree says New Year's? This is a Christmas celebration. They just don't use the word Christmas because some people don't like it because it's not politically correct. Anyway, I digress. So what I think I'm going to do is play some of these. So, actually that's a point. Where is that? How much further? And that just goes like 5% hit points, which would bring this thing up to a total of 3,350. Okay. To aiming speed, aiming circle size. Do I actually want these? Because the only one of these for heavy tanks that would really make any sense would be this one. Because you don't really need view range if you're in a heavy tank. And besides, the maximum view range is like 430 meters anyway. I don't know, I guess I could go with that one. What's the maximum speed? Slow is what the maximum speed is. And I just love how this thing weighs 151 tons. It's so stupid. I love it. Or even more HE protection. I think I've got a like a super heavy stall liner installed. I don't know though, but compared to something like this, field modifications, you've got things like affected the vehicle's hit points and the aiming circle size after firing, or minus with a slight reduction to the aiming speed. Well, aiming circle size after firing. That wouldn't really affect the gun because it's not an automatic. It's not an autoloader. So, and then this thing, aiming speed. What's the aiming speed? 1.51 seconds. That goes to 1.42. And that's like 50% more health. And then that drops to 1.6. Hang on. Where's the options? No, that's not what I wanted. Settings. General. Enable battle recording. I mean, I believe I'm doing that. Mini-map transparency, garage camera rotate. So would it be graphics? Where is it? Does that change anything? That does not appear to change anything. I remember, long time ago, that interface scaling details. I remember a long time ago that well, how on earth will I switch the HD client? Anyway, I remember a long time ago, gamma, color adjustment. You're gonna have like a 1940s filter on it, which kind of does something, I think. I just love the idea that the E-75 got hit for 1,920 damage. So it measures what you can and cannot penetrate. Okay. remember them talking about this feature. Was it? I remember them talking about that feature, but was it during update 2.0 that they talked about it? I can't remember. Anyway, colorblind mode. Turn that on, even though I'm not sure it does anything. Whatever. It doesn't matter. That's not why I'm here. Why I'm here is to actually try this game out and play it. And play it seriously. Because if I'm going to be entirely honest, there's a number of things that I could criticize about it. But I'm not sure I should. Yeah, whatever. Play! First game in... I honestly can't remember the last time I played this game. Yeah. Let's see what happens. So... okay, that was fast. Ow. Ow. Music. Ow. It also has really good stabilization on it. So that's a train car. I would like to quote the chieftain in saying that tanks go where the waters flow. And I think I can do that. Am I going to drown here? I think I'm fine. Yeah, we're fine. We're still fine. I expect that from the beginning, that my performance is going to suck. There, one. That's like the super IS-7 of the reserves.
We didn't even scratch.
I got hit from over here. being right here might be a great idea. And I can't see through this stupid bush. And I missed. Oh. Something just happened over there. Probably the largest thing that's driven down this street. Well, I mean, we're winning. Barely. Well, actually, we're winning quite decisively. I've done nothing. One. And I did absolutely nothing except getting hit and absorbing shots. Okay. I mean, I get that this isn't the most heavily Eh? Okay. Yay! My performance was utterly atrocious. Apply what? I did damage to someone? Hang on. I did damage to someone. Who did I do damage to? Because I'm pretty sure... Did I completely miss that I did damage to someone? I think I did. Alright. Well, that was absolutely terrible. Oh, that's it. Manage XP multiplier left today, 5. Sure, why not? Yeah, nothing unexpected happened. I sucked. Let's go again. I did not really... I am gonna have to review the footage. Because I did not think I landed a single hit on anything. Am I really just that mentally brain dead that I didn't even know. Honestly, if I failed to notice that, that is embarrassing. Good grief, that would... Well, no, it's not. It would be embarrassing. It is embarrassing. After this, I'll probably pull out the Type 5, though. One of my gripes about this game, and this doesn't necessarily apply to this tank, because I get that this thing isn't the most heavily armored machine in the world, is it seems like they kind of invalidated armor. So... I don't know. Like, I could go on a 30-minute rant about how special ammo, it's not really gold ammo anymore, but you can't just buy it with gold. When I logged in the game, update 7.5 hadn't happened yet. Or, well, like, when I first started playing the game. Update 7.5 hadn't happened yet. That was the update that added tier 10 mediums and TDs. Because when the game originally launched, the only tier 10s were heavy tanks. It was only like the mouse, it was only like the mouse, I think. I'm pretty sure the is also there. The IS-7, the AMX-50, or the AMX-50, and is that it? Hang on. I want to turn the game's audio down. Just a little bit more sound. AMX-50B, the mouse, the T100, the T175, and the IS-7. Those are the only tier 10s in the game. And then update 7.5 added tier 10 mediums and TDs, which is where we got crazy things like the T110E3, the T110E4, the Yegrans T100. Do I really want to come around that corner? Hey, my turret actually stopped something. I mean, it didn't stop that, but it stopped something.
Critical hit.
Did I cut that? No, I did not.
We didn't even scratch them.
the good stuff. See if we can't go through the side of this mouse. Oh.
We didn't penetrate their armor.
Oh, the good stuff. That's fine. T-110, please get out of the way. Okay, we're doing this.
That one didn't go through.
Where are they shooting me? The upper glaciers. Probably the upper glaciers. So that's right back to
Penetration.
I keyholed that shot between a bunch of friendly things. I should not have taken that. I mean, the big rule of gun safety is be aware of your target and what's behind it. Be aware of what's in front of it, too. Something just bounced off the train. Hey, my turret.
Enemy is hit.
And artillery. And there's a bunch of tank wrecks here, which I need to force my way through.
We didn't even scratch them. Critical hit. We're done for. Everyone get out.
I blew up. Well, at least I did damage that game. And I actually blocked quite a bit, to be fair. Where did it hit? The upper glow. It penetrated that, angled like that? Hey. That was the good stuff. Like, is that the base pen on the STRV-103? Hang on, I gotta check this. Is that the base pen on the Because we're talking about more than 13 inches of armor. Where's tech tree? I mean, I'm not mad. I just... Is it really that high? 103B. Yes, you. No? That... So, did that just mention the... APCR. So I honestly don't know what ammunition type that was. That either would have been a high roll from the regular stuff or a low roll from the good stuff. L622. That thing can penetrate 14 inches, solid, like 14 inches of metal in the... Huh, it can. Okay. Alright, well, alright then. Let's take something with armor. Let me reacquaint myself with this thing. So, durability... Rammer stage? Stage 1 of what? What did I sign up with? Of this. Ugh. Oh, excuse me. Rammer. Fence or super heavy spall liner. Fence and rammer. I'm kind of not expect these to be swapped. So you have basically... So the vehicle characteristics are basically the same, except one is this thing and the other is the other thing. Alright, well I guess I'll do that then. Let's try this thing. Now, one of the grievances I had, and the FV215B was not a great tank to try and display those grievances, but one of the grievances that I have is that with the advent of things like special ammo, it kind of invalidates armor. And I don't know exactly how well. I mean, we're gonna see. We're gonna see if armor is really worth it. And I would like to point out that I did block a pretty significant amount of damage in that second FV215B game. And yes, I know the FV215B is completely fictional. I don't care. I like it. I think it looks great. I mean, to be fair, I've always had a bit of a weakness for rear-turreted tanks. I just think they look cool. But, you can hear Chaffee. But, anyway, armor. Now, the FV215B has a pretty badly armored hull. The turret is apparently pretty bouncy. I'm kind of surprised no one shot the Sonic Great Big Cupola, but the turret is apparently pretty bouncy. But it seems like they, at least to a degree, have invalidated armor. And I'm not saying that you should just be able to get into like a mouse, an E100 or Type 5, and then just hold the W key and win the game. And that's not exactly fun. Where the heck am I going to go in this game? Oh, they've got the tier 11 light. Where is the normal heavy tank? Look, I'm just going to follow the E100 here, and the Tesseract, or however you pronounce that. Oh, okay. 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour. I got some back. Also, this tank is the exact opposite of something. 150-ton slab of metal. And it's not fast. Nor is it accurate. To be fair, though, if I can land a shot on that guy, then he's going to feel it. But it seems like he's already feeling it as is. 100 Tesseract. The other Tesseract, which is even heavier. I think that thing's up like 200 tons. They somehow made a tank even heavier than the mouse. Let's go downhill. And no, I can't even make 20. I can't even make 27 kilometers an hour. Oh, that FV215B is booking it pretty well. Breaker. That is along the line that the slow, heavily armored British TV is on. The one that I have no idea where to shoot that thing. I'm trying to trade it.
That one didn't go through. Ammo storage is hit. We're lucky it didn't blow.
He's throwing the good stuff at me.
We've lost some ammo, but at least it didn't explode.
This is what I'm thinking. This is what I mean. Right here. He says before immediately announcing shot from signal stuff. I do not have the gun depression to try and deal with that guy.
Bail out. This vehicle has had it.
There's no battle on like there was, or like there was in World of Warships. But that kind of exemplifies what I was trying to say. He just pressed the 2 key and then ignored my armor. And... Dog? What's this? Okay. What's this? I have no idea what that is. Alright. But, I mean, he pressed the 2 key, and then he just ignored my armor. Oh. I'm... If it isn't obvious, I'm used to World of Warships, because if your ship gets destroyed in battle, and then you go back to port, or heck, you can even just hit the battle on button, and you don't have to wait for your ship to come back, and that game to end before playing the next one. So, actually, that's a point. How did that second FE215B game go? Okay, can I get, like, some details? What is that? My rating, average damage. So I apparently won both of them. So that's averaging my performance over the 2 battles. Which, okay, but I would like to take a look at... I would like to take a look at the individual performance. Is that something that I could do? Okay. Well, I mean, I won both of them, but Okay. I would like to have seen the actual performance of that second game. No, that's not what I want. Back to game, not exit game. Thank you. From at least 300. Apparently, I did that once. Okay. That's not likely to happen. How many? Oh, okay. You know, okay, that's a bit annoying. I would like to have seen the individual performance of the individual games. That's a bit of a pest. What's this do? I gotta wait for the Type 5 to come out of the my statistics over the day. Ugh, good grief. Hiccups. Both of these are empty. You are completely pointless. I have fought 2 games so far. So best players by most popular tier 10 vehicles. Okay, well I'm gonna be nowhere on that list. By most popular new vehicles. I wonder what defines a new vehicle, but okay. Most popular premium vehicles. You know, I considered buying that. I think one of the first premium tanks I ever bought was the T-34, the Tier 8 US heavy tank. And it was either that or the T-26E4, the Super Pershing. My vehicles, day. You are completely pointless. Vehicle search. Is that like all the vehicles in the game? I think that might be all the vehicles in the game. I thought it was just my vehicles. Okay, no, that's totally pointless. Summary. Collections? Collection. I mean, what does the style look like? Although the T-110E4 with the twin machine guns is kind of nice. At least I assume that's twin machine guns. Oh yeah, that's the Nick style, isn't it? Yeah, I have that one. I apparently have that. Okay, well that's largely pointless. Hang on. I don't think I'm going to be able to view the specifics. Well, no, I might be able to view some of the specifics from that T110E5, or not T110, that Type 5 game. Because of the way this seems to be organized, it's organized by vehicle. So. But, I mean, it's been in there for a while. 47% win rate. 100% win. Okay, I'm not entirely sure that's accurate. Statistics? How many games of 40? Okay. Battle survived, 20. 20% rather. Hits. Armor use efficiency. Huh. Oh, we won. Details. Okay, what do we got? I mean, these bonuses are going to expire soon enough. Yeah, where am I? I'm at the bottom of the list. I am not actually at the bottom of the list. That's kind of impressive. Huh. But that, I mean, that kind of exemplifies my problem. Is that again, it just was able to press the 2 key and then ignore my armor. Actually, that's a point. I should have done this earlier. What is the pen for the breaker? No. 326. Okay, well, he wasn't going to be getting through my armor if he hadn't pressed the 2 key, but that doesn't exactly make me feel any better. So, but that kind of, again, that's probably, like, this is the third time I said this, or fourth, that he just pressed a button and ignored my armor. And that, I think, is a problem. And I'm not saying that heavily armored tanks like the Mouse, the E100, the Type 5, or whatnot should just be able to hold W and then win the game. I don't know. I don't think that there's enough drawbacks to doing that aside from expense. Like, okay, let me be honest. If I had 4 million credits, or 4 billion credits rather, I would only be running that on all of my tanks. I would just be running the good stuff, because why not? Wait, no, is that it? No, that. But why not? Just like, why? There's no incentive not to if you have enough cash. And use laptop preset. I have no idea what the personal missions are about. I also have no idea where the brawling. I don't know, I guess I'll follow the E100.
Time to roll out.
The E100 is not so bad. Oh, no, there he goes. And they just absolutely rolled over in the little launch tower thing. E100 is up there. No, the E100 is there. The E100 is actually beside me. Tanks like this are not fast. I don't know. Maybe regarding the whole ammunition issue, what they should do, and this is just my complete total 2 cents here, is give different give players an option to choose 2 or 3 different ammunition types out of 4 or 5 in total to mount on a vehicle. Because I've seen different people come up with different suggestions about how to limit the prevalence of that kind of ammunition. Things like either limit the number that a vehicle can carry, which on top of that, I've seen some people suggest historical figures. I don't necessarily think that's a good idea because some tanks like the F-215 B-183 are kind of carried by it, by the amount of just super hash, for lack of a better term, that it can carry. Who's shooting at? Don't know.
We didn't even scratch them.
Okay, well, I can all kind of do wrong attention.
The gunner's dead. We're trying to cover for him. We didn't even scratch them.
Just press a button and somehow bring the gunner back to life.
Penetration.
You know, I don't really want to get up into a gunfight with this gorilla with a T-110E3 over there. So, I no, I
Critical hit.
How? The tank is made out of wet tissue paper. That must have hit an exceptionally slow piece of metal. And I don't have enough gun depression. Still don't have enough gun depression. I missed. Okay, he's dead, so that's all I got. No, the AMX-50B is still alive. And I think I'm now utterly useless. Okay, correction, the AMX-50B is no longer alive. Honestly, okay, I'm wondering how many of the shots I took came in from the side and penned from the side, which is fair, makes sense. Okay. And how many of the shots I took came in from the front and then just lull penned because they were using the good stuff. I don't know. And honestly, that's the point that I don't understand is I don't know. How on earth did I bounce a shot off a Gorilla 15? I seem to be doing disturbingly well, and I don't know why. But sure, we can play another one. I honestly do not know how long this has been running, but we can play another one. I'm assuming that as he was backing up and turning, the round hit a portion of the armor at an especially sharp angle and then just bounced right off. Which... the game has like a 3 times pen rule. Ah, Westfield. A map that I actually know. Well, I say I know it. That's not entirely accurate. This is a map that I am vaguely familiar with. Mainly because... yeah, no, that's fine.
Let's get this show on the road.
The thing is, I actually remember where heavy tanks go in these maps. I don't get at. I should have started clicking HE in the back. How on earth did you get up there so fast? Oh, because the ships are spawning too close. That's an E4. I think I can pen Scopula. Scopula penning's about the only chance. Yeah. Let me not get in this bed.
We didn't penetrate their armor.
That's 3. And, oh wow, I
Enemy is hit.
What are you doing, bud? Besides dying. Okay, so that thing's turret is stupid, so I'm not gonna be able to go for that. I know that one.
Enemy is hit.
He says right before paying for Scopula.
We're done for. Everyone get out.
Okay. 377. Okay, yeah, that's got to be the good stuff that I was hit with. It was in fact the good stuff that I was hit with. But I get it. I mean, that kind of gets into my point. And I'm not trying to complain about this, even though that's pretty much exactly what it sounds like I'm doing. The point I'm trying to make is that how best to phrase this? The point I'm trying to make is that it's not fun for people to just be able to press a button and then go through whatever. It's not fun to be on the receiving end, and it's, well, okay, it's probably going to be more fun for the people just lol-pitting anything, but can you really argue if it's fun there? Because it's not a challenge. So, I don't know. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. I think we're going to lose this one. Possibly. Great, this tank can move apparently. You're opening yourself up to being flanked by the E50. But, okay. So that just leaves... I said E50, the AMX 50. Anyway, I think we know how that works. So, let me pick something else. Something I actually haven't played a game before at all. I have played a couple of games in this thing. Specifically the, you know, like that thing when you haven't played in forever and they let you basically play training games against bots? That's what I played this thing. I, however, have not played any game in this whatsoever. Depends lower. Depend on this thing is stupid, so... Field modification. To dispersion during hull traverse. Minus 6%. What are the options here? Reinforced suspension, very similar to heavy tanks. Aiming speed or aiming circle size. Concealment after firing or view range. Aiming speed, aiming circle size after firing, or reload time. Yeah, that's not surprising. I wonder how bonds are earned. General weight reductions. Shells and consumables, equipment directives. Okay. So I guess I can... Huh. They upped the ammunition load of this thing from 12 to 20. I thought it was 12. Apparently they upped it to 20. Anyway, so I guess I can give this thing a go or two. But maybe what they should do with shell types is give players the option mounting 2 or 3 different types of shells out of, or on their vehicle, out of selection of like 4 or 5. So maybe something like, I have no idea where to go. The bridge, maybe?
Time to roll out.
Out of something like 4 or 5. Hard to call them in tomorrow. I mean, that thing has similar characteristics to vehicle, and then it has a limited burst. So, for example, and each one of these ammunition types has different strengths and weaknesses. So you have AP, and you might, like, okay, you've got like AP and HE, standard armor piercing, standard high explosive. Maybe you differentiate it between something like conventional AP, APCR, and heat, and then HE. Okay, so maybe you have something like AP, APCR, heat, HE, and then HESH, or HEP, high explosive blast, in U.S. parlance. And the idea here is that you can select one of the different types, and each ammunition has its strengths and weaknesses, including both penetration and damage. Where are you? And if you really want to get specific, you might have things like delayed fuse HE, I have apparently been shot.
Our main gun is damaged. It's working, but not very well.
I have apparently been shot. Oh, and that was the good stuff he hit me with. Did he even need to hit me with the good stuff? I mean, the IS-7's gun apparently serves as like 250 millimeters of pen out of the box. So, which I think is roughly the same level of armor protection as my gun. Again.
We're immobilized. We fixed the track. Get going. We're done for. Everyone get out.
Okay. Okay, yeah, get the cinematics over with. 359 millimeters. 359 millimeters. That was the good stuff. It was the good stuff. Okay. Well, I think we're going to lose that. So, but maybe you've got like AP, and you can honestly quibble if you want. You've got, for example, AP shells, which is a shell. Now, you can differentiate AP between an AP shell and AP shot. An AP shell is, well, it's an armor-piercing shell with a small explosive charge inside so that it detonates when it gets inside the vehicle. AP shot, which was particularly used by the British during World War II, is just a solid hunk of metal. It's effectively a very large bullet. And advantages to AP shot over AP shells might be lower damage, but slightly better penetration and slightly lower cost. And then, you know, APCR, or armor-piercing composite rigid, which, at least from my understanding, which isn't necessarily all-encompassing, it's kind of like a modern Ralphus round for the 50 BMG, in that you have a dense, usually tungsten core in the projectile. So it doesn't necessarily do, presumably it wouldn't do a whole lot of damage, but you fire it fast, and you have good penetration. Another shell option similar to that might be something like APDS, or armor-piercing discarding sabot. Now, if this sounds vaguely familiar, this is a precursor to modern APFSDS, or armor-piercing fin-stabilized armor-piercing fin-stabilized discarding sabot that modern tanks use. The main difference is that whereas a modern tank round is basically just a long, thin dart with some fins at the back, using a pedal-style sabot that just peels apart once the round leaves the barrel. APDS rounds from like the 1950s, late 1940s were they had a sabot, but it was like a cup. The round sat in the cup, and the cup and everything was loaded into the gun. And when the round was fired, the cup was basically pulled away, leaving the smaller, the subcaliber projectile left to go on and hit the target. And then you have heat, which is, I mean, he's pretty straightforward. High explosive anti-tank. It uses a shape charge to penetrate the armor. High explosive, and again, this is also pretty straightforward. You have a relatively large amount of explosives in a relatively thinly cased round that doesn't have a whole lot of pen, but you have like a contact fuse. Maybe you can pick between something like a conventional contact fuse and maybe a delay fuse, which maybe would lower the shell damage but slightly increase the shell's pen. And then you have HESH, high explosive squash head, or HEP in US parlance, high explosive plastic. It's two names, but it's the same basic thing. And what it effectively is it's a shell, a heavy shell, with a lot of explosive inside of it, and relatively thin casing walls. And the idea is that when the shell hits the target, it just like sort of squashes against it for a split second, and then it detonates. And the idea is that you've taken all this energy and you've transferred it through the armor. So on the other side, you get all kinds of nasty spalling where bits of the armor have just get ripped away by the wave of energy, for lack of a better term, passing through the metal, because these things don't like to go from medium to medium to medium. So you have the energy. Energy is not the right word, but I honestly can't think of the one to use. It goes into the armor from the HESH round, and then when it gets basically to the other side, to the open vehicle, it's going to rip bits of armor off and send that flying around the inside of the vehicle, and that's called spalling. Honestly, HESH is not very effective against things like composite armor, like is what is used in a lot of modern armored vehicles. So that's why you don't see HESH very much today. But in the late World War II/late 1940s era, it was a lot more common, and the British in particular loved it. In fact, the FV-215B-183 and just the 183mm gun in general was designed specifically to fire HESH rounds, or at least was primarily intended to fire HESH rounds. Maybe not specifically. But you could have different ammunition types like that. And these ammunition types could be balanced by things like damage, cost, penetration, and potentially other factors. Like, for example, if you wanted to balance APDS, make it less accurate. Or if you wanted to balance HESH, make it increase the reload time, because HESH is a very heavy round. Now, in World of Tanks specifically, the reticle automatically accounts for the drop of your projectile. It doesn't account for any sort of horizontal lead, but the reticle automatically accounts for the drop of the projectile at any given range. So the issues with aiming something like HESH, or the benefits of or well, the issues with aiming a large, relatively slow, relatively heavy round like Hesh, or the benefits of aiming a very fast, light round like APDS aren't really there in game. Oh, we won that? That was kind of surprising. I guess. I didn't do any damage, and I apparently blocked one hit. Alright. What is this? Should I get in any of these? I don't think I will. But I'll play one more game. And honestly, I think I think they should do that. It would give players more options, and it would remove, at least to a degree, the ability to just press the 2 key without most consequences and just win effectively. Now, after saying all that, I'm going to be a bit of a hypocrite because I'm going to play this game using the Super Hesh. Mainly because I have never actually used the Super Hesh, and I at least want to see what it does.
Time to roll out.
I'm sorry, am I recording that audio code? Because I think the guy has an audio. He says that. Oh, the BC one thing about it. We have a Sam's orbital cannon. We thought we ate the KR-1. Is that right? KR-1 ate the T. What was the T-92 doing that far ahead? Oh boy. I would love to at least hit something with this shot. I mean, I would prefer that something to be squishy and at full health, but okay, yeah. Oh, they're definitely. Okay, that makes sense. Well, we're probably going to lose that one. I cannot read French, so I have no idea what that's saying. I'm trying to think, does that thing have something with one of the highest I think, and this is something, that tank might have the highest standard shelf 10 in the game.
Ammo storage is hit. We're lucky it didn't blow.
Love the two machine guns on the side of the tank. Like, they're in ball mounts. Are they really just a driver to play with? I'm sorry, why does the Chinese tank have both an American M2 Brown and a Soviet Disco on the same hatch? That one's only going one way. I suppose that's one thing they could do. Is to just change the ammunition, like I said. I think that would deal with the problem. Another thing that they could do to try and, because here's the thing. Okay. If I get into something like a Type 5, alright, I'm getting into a tank that weighs 151 tons, okay? It's slow. It's incredibly slow. And it has 12.2 inches of armor on the hull and 12.6 inches of armor on the turret. If I'm getting into something like that, I'm paying a lot for thick armor. And everything that I'm paying for is just entirely, completely, and totally invalidated by someone who could just press the 2 key and go right through it, as demonstrated by that Badger. So, yeah. Or something like, okay, so that match on, shoot, I can't remember the name of the map. The one where I somehow bounced off of a gorilla. All right, I got hit several times in the side at the start. That's fine. Okay, that's honestly fine. That's my screw up. This is the size of a barn, so, and the side isn't all that heavily armored. But the Badger, it's a prime example of what happened with the Badger. He just he just pressed the 2 key and just lull pinned the front of the tank. And I honestly don't think that's healthy. Because you have tanks like the E-100, you have tanks like the Mouse, you have tanks like the Type 5. Tanks that are known for being very, very, very heavily armored. And you just don't, and nothing happens. Like, it's not worth it. And it leads players more towards playing with machine. We won that? Okay. It leads players more towards playing with machines that... Okay, so yeah, I lost a lot of money. But it leads players towards playing with machines that don't have any armor, that trade armor for things like speed and mobility. There is a difference. Things like the Leopard 1. And you can make an argument that, yes, that's historical, but... Historical, yes, but it's not fun. Like, again, if you want something like that... something heavily armored. I don't expect, if I'm in a Type 5, I don't expect to just be able to press the W key and win the game. What I would, however, like to see is the ability to actually use my armor. And I don't think that's built into the game. And that's honestly one of the biggest reasons why I don't play this game all that much.
Let's go.
Okay, I get that armor isn't necessarily the be-all and end-all. It's certainly not the be-all and end-all in reality. I probably shouldn't have driven all of that. Oh, well, I mean... It's certainly not the be-all and end-all in reality. But it feels like, you know, it could be better in game. And one way of solving that problem is either making the ammunition adjustments that I talked about, or potentially, or if you want to take a page from World of Warships, give heavy tanks a heal. And I say that because in World of Warships, it is possible to pretty much, it's possible, at least to a degree, for pretty much any vehicle of a given tier to damage any other vehicle. Or, not vehicle, any ship of a given tier to damage pretty much any other ship of a given tier.
Enemy armor is damaged.
Well, I mean, I hit something. So I wonder what the distinction for, where did it hit? Oh, it hit the lower glacis. Okay, that's fair. Okay, so... Hello? Tank? Why does this thing have a quartet of more electronic KDAs on the turret? That's the base tank. Honestly, does that come on the base tank? But in World of Warships, pretty much any ship can damage any other ship to at least some degree. You can take a tier 1, okay, and you can putter it up to a super battleship, and you can shell it enough to kill it. It's going to take a while, it's not going to be efficient, but you can do it. And World of Warships kind of gets around this issue by giving ships, like battleships, a heal. And if you're going to... No, it doesn't have the Orlicons. And if you're going to make armor largely non-effective, then give us a heal. Because it's just not fun to sit there and get low count. And I know that might sound kind of rich from someone who was just using the 2 key. But, okay, well, to be fair, I don't really have any defense there. I was using the 2 key. But if I'm going to be entirely honest, if I had the option to never be able to do that again, for them to actually fix the whole ammunition thing, I would take it. Anyway, that's my biggest issue with this game. Other issues I have with this game, particularly after Update 2.0, is... Oh, let me see. Tier 5. T1. Okay. Let's take a look at this thing for a second here. Modules. We have 2 guns and 2 turrets. 2 engines, 2 tracks, and 1 radio. This reflects a change they made in Update 2.0 that I honestly don't particularly like, which is where they basically grabbed all the different modules from all the different tanks, and they have largely removed them. Because tanks used to have 3, 4, or 5 different guns. In fact, I think the... Is it the Churchill 3? This thing. I think it was this thing had like 7 different guns, which, okay, that might be a little bit much. But the point is that you had a lot of different guns to choose from. You had maybe 2 or 3 different types of engines. You could have 2 or 3 different types of radios, and I'll get to radios in just a second. But they removed all of that in Update 2.0. And their goal was to streamline vehicle research and to make stock configurations more comfortable to play. And I understand that. I just think they screwed up. And I think if they wanted... Because here's the thing. I've always been a massive proponent, or a massive advocate is probably a better word, of options, right? Of the ability to choose different modules to put on your vehicle. Where's the US? Where's the US? Give me a decently high-tier machine. Like this. Okay. Modules. Because they didn't change these. I mean, this thing has 4 guns, 2 turrets, 2 tracks, 3 engines, and 2 radios. This is what it used to be like. Okay. And if I'm going to be entirely honest, I'd much prefer having these options. And here's another thing that they did, alright, and that I also didn't particularly care for. You see where it says compatible vehicle? It's only limited to like 1, except for here. Because modules oftentimes were very communicative. Is that the right word I'm looking? When you research one module on one... There was a lot of vehicles with the same modules, is what I'm trying to get at. Guns are an example. Engines are also an example. But an even better example is radios. And for some reason, tank destroyers didn't have. They had different guns than regular tanks. I don't understand why, but apparently they had different guns, so they weren't part of this commonality. A great example is to look at the difference between the German KWK guns and the PaK guns. The KWKs being, or the PaK guns being on the tank destroyers, and the KWKs being on pretty much everything else. And like it was common. So if I had a German tank with the 7.5 centimeter L70, and I researched that, any other tank that had that gun the KWK L70, not to get mixed up with the PAC L70 again, I could, like, the gun was already researched. I had to purchase it again for that tank, yes, but I could mount it, assuming that I had enough load limit and it could fit in the turret. They've removed that. That is a problem that I have. And another example I could think of is radios. Because look at all the vehicles that these radios could actually fit onto. Okay? It makes no sense. And granted, this is the reason why you had weird instances where you had, say, where you had, what's the word I'm looking for? Where you had like a tier 9 radio on a tier 4 tank, and the tier 9 radio had the same XP and credit costs as the tier 9 radio. It was like twice the XP cost of the tier 5 tank. But it made a degree of sense when you realized just how many vehicles could take that radio. Let me find a tier 5. Like that. Okay, let's look at the radios here. Alright. Or how about, again, it defaults to the British. You know what? Actually, no. Store. There we go. And the reason why I mention all of that is because with the different radio commonalities, it made sense, like, to have these radios on here. This is a tier 10 radio. I don't know why it's a tier 10 radio. None of those are tier 10s. But some of them are tier 7s. That's tier 8. That's tier 7. I'm pretty sure that's tier 6. But it made sense to have these on the vehicles because you could research them early and they would be on half the vehicles in the tech tree in some cases. So, I don't know. I personally don't get it. I don't. And one thing they've done is, and I already said this, I believe, they've reduced the number of modules that you have to try and streamline things. Two things overall, and this is kind of the point of this rant that I'm going on. Firstly, if you wanted to streamline the stock performance of a vehicle, make them easier to play without being at top configuration, I think you could have made one change, which granted they did, but I mean make this change, only this change, make it in isolation. And that was to remove the load limit on stock suspensions and make it the same as on researchable suspensions, which they did. But if they just made that change, I think that would have been better, because that means that you could have mounted any engine you wanted, any radio you wanted, and any gun you wanted, assuming it actually fit in the stock turret. And then those were pretty flexible. If they had done that, I think that would have made it a lot simpler. And as for radios, pretty much all of these vehicles have only one radio. Okay? One radio. If I'm going to be entirely honest, I don't even think radios should be in the game now. Like, as modules. If you're only going to have one, why have it in the game? Because it's basically serving no purpose. Instead, what they should do, if they're only going to just... If you're only going to have one radio per vehicle, just remove it as a module and have the radio range, or the signal range characteristic, tied to the vehicle in the same way that I don't know, like tied to the vehicle. I'm trying to think of a good example. In kind of the same way that I'm trying to think of an example of something that's not affected by a module, but could be affected by crew skills and equipment. Kind of like maximum speed. It's not affected by any modules, at least to my knowledge. But you can improve it with things like equipment and crew skills. Just make signal range that, because for all intents and purposes, that's what it is. By removing this stuff, you have taken an entire module class and you've effectively made it redundant. You've neutered you've neutered a vast majority of the options that you had for a lot of these tanks. For the ones you haven't made redundant, and your attempts to do something important, make tanks easier to play outside of top configuration, is an important thing, but it is also, you've kind of, the reason why you did it was important, but the way you've done it, I think, was not great, is what I'm trying to get at. And that's one of the other critiques I have of this game. And I'm not saying this I'm not saying this because I don't like the game. I'm saying this because I love the game. Okay? That's one thing I want to just get out of the way right at the start. I'm saying this because I genuinely love this game. And I think that this game can do very, very well. I think that there are things that need to be tweaked for it to really succeed, is what I'm trying to get at. Anyway, I have gone on a pretty significant rant, and so yeah, that's basically it.